So one of the most compelling things for me about the Amazon sales channel is just how much insight and data you can have into the economic performance of various ASINs in the space. Just imagine in the old days when there was only brick and mortar retail, if you could walk into a Walmart or a Best Buy or a Home Depot, you could look at the shelf and be like, hey, that one makes 100 grand a month. This one makes 50. This one makes 500,000 a month. This one's liked by customers for these reasons, disliked for these reasons. Like that amount of transparency would be mind boggling. And in the old brick and mortar days, people used to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for market research reports. On Amazon, we are literally a Chrome extension away from identifying almost every key economic fact about a particular product or category that you would ever want to know to make an informed business decision, to make the best probability decision on the right products to choose. So for me, there's really two core elements of Amazon software tools that I use. Both Helium 10 is the primary, I would say, or most important, and then Sellerize is the second. So starting with Helium 10, I'd say like 95% of what I use it for now is really just the Chrome extension. I use it almost every single day. It's just a really good quick snapshot. You go up there, click it, and it's going to give you access to the X-ray information, which is obviously going to scrape all of the data on the front page related to things like the sales performance, how many reviews people have, just the general vibe and composition of the overall marketplace. So when I'm using this, I'm usually just kind of scanning, hey, what's like the general total revenue or market size of a category for a particular keyword. Another way to think about this is TAM, or total addressable market. So this one's 1.3 million for the golf push cart. The average revenue kind of gives me an idea where I want to play with my budget. Average price point's interesting too. And then the average number of reviews. So I get like a really good snapshot. I'll scan this all the time if I've got ideas. It's also good to check in on your own marketplace to see, hey, what's your ASIN looking like versus the real data that you know of behind the scenes in Amazon. You can see how closely correlated they are. Usually it's within 20-30% in most cases, but it also lets you know the movers and shakers, who's moving up, who's moving down. So for just kind of quick snapshot stuff, this is pretty good. You can use this, find suppliers on Alibaba with the Chrome extension. I don't use it a ton, but you can get that to save a step, or at least just get some scratch math on what the COGS might be. So I'd say the predominant way I use it is literally this X-ray tool. The other good thing is just to see these stats here above. I like just being able to grab the ASIN and just see what people's ranking is in various categories. Beyond that, I'd say the second big thing that I'll kind of scan every once in a while with Helium 10 is just the keyword output data. If you want to just dump a bucket of keywords, especially at a launch, and you want to kind of just see volumetrically what's the total volume and the number that you're actually getting out of the total kind of market size for the keywords you've uploaded, it's fantastic. What I don't like about it is it's limited to 5,000 keywords, which if you're running a lot of products or want to really track a bunch of words for each particular product, it's pretty easy to run out of that quickly. So I've kind of shifted a little bit more over Sellerize for the regular tracking, but a good snapshot in terms of organic keyword performance and volume of market share is great to see in this keyword section. And to see that, you just go to the analytics keyword section. It's the bulk of what I use Helium 10 for now. I'll flip over to Sellerize so you can see how we use that. So this is an example of the Sellerize dashboard. If you go home, here you can see all of the different features. I've done a lot of the videos here for Dima and the Sellerize team, so you can kind of check that out and all the features. I'll run through these one by one for how I use them. First of all, I use the mobile app. It's probably my favorite mobile app. I like the fact that you can flip through multiple brands and marketplaces really easily, and the visuals of it are really nice. So I use the app for Sellerize as my go-to, even more than Seller Central, honestly. This is kind of a hub just to see the day's sales, kind of good number on the high number. If you plug in your COGS, you get net profit, some high-level ROI margin stuff. Gives you a little bit of an idea of who's refunded to, some high-level stats on advertising orders versus organic orders, which I really like that feature. And then you can look at different period ranges, things like that. The other thing I like about the sales and profit is that you can come in here and you can select the different geographic marketplaces for an account. And if you've got multiple brands, you can basically select these multiple brands here. So I really quite like that feature. Every once in a while, I will look at the profit loss section, which is also in the financials. This is kind of just a snapshot of what your P&L or net income statement might look like. I get a monthly report from my bookkeeping accountant, Muse Minded Accounting. And so that's usually about, 5-6 days after the month ends, we'll get that report, which is literally precise. It's exactly what the financials are. What's good about this though is even though it's directional and it's not as accurate as what I get from my bookkeeper, like within a particular month, you can kind of get a really clean idea on where we're at and what the intra-month performance looks like. So sometimes in the middle of a month, I'll look at this. That's the main thing I'll use that for. Smart alerts is another thing that we talked about in the Slack section. So we've got this synced up to Slack. So anything that changes with reviews, dimensions, all those things will be included here in the alert. So I use smart alerts. Reviews is a big thing. It's actually the original reason why I actually started to use Sellerize was the review requester. So you can basically set up an automated configuration using Amazon's rules and platforms to basically notify customers or ping them for requesting a review after a certain amount of time. So you can kind of set, the criteria for when to send that kind of ping, as well as the different criteria on timing and things like that. You can also configure it at a SKU level, which I like. So it's not just at the account level. Then there's a cool dashboard too. It kind of just shows you how many have been sent out over different periods of time. The other good one here is Review Puncher, which basically if you get a negative review, you can set the criteria. Say if I get a 1, 2, or 3-star review, there's another system within Amazon now that enables you to actually reach out to make it right by customers. It's a prescribed template. So you don't get to customize the messaging, but it's a good thing to try to get in front of some reviews that happen and see if you can't change those. We'll get into review management and negative review management more specifically later on in the course, but I definitely use Review Puncher. You can also use Review Downloader if you want to just like download all your reviews. It's good to see for that. What's gotten a lot better about Sellerize is the keyword tracker. A couple things I like about the keyword tracker. Number one is you can fit way more than 5,000 words in here, which I think is really awesome. And it's got some high level stats. You can kind of check on any product. This is a demo account. You can see the actual ranking over time for different words. What's really cool is you can export this to Excel, which we're going to cover in a number of different sections on how we use that for daily tracking. So keywords is one. You can use some of the links as well, which we talked about in the URL section, which is cool. Reimbursements is another one. If you actually don't want to pay a service like GetIDA, I think they charge 20% of whatever reimbursements they find. So you can absolutely pay people to do this, but it lets you basically know potential reimbursements that you might be able to get, as well as the prescribed things to say, the tickets to submit, all that stuff. There's videos on all these different sections if you go to the Help Hub, so you can kind of watch videos on each of them in more detail. But reimbursements is solid. Shipment Optimizer is a big one if you've got larger products that typically go to 3 Amazon DCs when you create a shipment. Oftentimes with the Shipment Optimizer, you can reduce that to 2 instead of 3, so it saves a little bit of money on ground freight. You can consolidate more of your shipments. So with bigger products, especially when I was in the home goods space and we had some larger products, I would use this almost on every shipment. So it's a lot more intuitive than Seller Central, and you can tend to optimize and streamline the number of DCs that it goes to. And then if you wanted to just run some quick profit analysis and didn't want to run through the full ROI, you can throw in an ASIN here. It'll show you the dimensions, weight, all that stuff, which is good to copy over. But you can kind of run some quick ROI. It's not as detailed as our ROI calculator. But if you want to just within, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, to see what the potential ROI of a product is, I'll also use the profit analyzer. So that's it, simple, right? Helium 10 and Sellerize. I think if you only had one to choose from, I'd probably choose Helium 10. It does a lot of the features that Sellerize does, although I kind of prefer Sellerize for things like review requesters and profitability and all these other things that Helium 10 has some features on. But I'd say the catch-all, end-all, be-all software, if you had to have one, is probably Helium 10. But both of these are great, and they both work in the workflow that we use from an operating standpoint. So that's Amazon software.